I still get the question about informing the health department. Thought I'd let you know what my travels uncovered. There is still no affirmative duty to report to the health department for a single case. In case you're curious, it's the medical provider who's supposed to report that to the health department, and the health department handles the contact tracing. Now, there's an exception in King County. I looked in a couple counties last night. I apologize, I didn't have a chance to look in them all. So if you want us to check for your county, we certainly will. But King County has a food service workers special requirement that's newish. And that is, if you have 2 or more cases in your workplace within a 14-day period, the employer must report to the King County Health Department within 24 hours. Now, I put on here, if that's not the rule for your county, it's probably a good idea to follow it. That's as much as I'm going to say for purposes of a webinar where you're not my client. Whether you choose to do that or not might have legal consequences, and it's probably something you want to talk to your lawyer about if you're going to choose to not report. And of course, there's public issues and other things by going forward. Most of the employers I work with err on the side of over-reporting because they care about workplace safety and that of their guests. I'm not saying that you don't if you choose not to do that. It's just something that you probably want to work on with your lawyer. And of course, we heard about all the contact tracing rules. Remember when everybody was going to have to basically keep a log of everybody's blood type, name, address, and where they've been in the last 2 weeks? We don't have to do that, but there is some information we have to have handy. So be ready in case the health department calls you. I mean, you can make sure that they're really from the health department and they're legit, but we do have an obligation to cooperate with those questions. Do you need to tell your guests or your customers or vendors or anybody who could have come in contact with the employee who has a confirmed diagnosis? Legally, there's no current duty to report. Whether you want to is a different question. But for purposes of the webinar, I'm telling you that there's not a legal duty to do so, but there certainly might be reasons that you do. I have many clients who just really feel that it's important to let guests know, and they've adopted the contact tracing rules for doing that, which we're going to talk about in a second here.
Got a question related to that. What specific information will the health department want from me in regards to contact tracing?
You know, I've never talked to the health department about it. I know generally what they're going to want to know is the employee and the close contact employees. They're going to ask for addresses and telephone numbers, because what the contact tracers do is they're basically trying to find out somebody who was ill and then figure out with whom that ill person may have come in contact with. So that's where, you know, you hear things about a cluster at a barbecue or a party. It's because the health department has actually figured out that these 10 people were together at this party, and that's probably how they got sick. They're not going to go into health details or medical information about your employee. That would be privacy rights. But it's probably mostly going to be contact information, but they may want contact information for these close contact employees.
Great.
So this rule hasn't changed. Which other employees do I inform? And really what this question is, which other employees do I need to think about putting under quarantine? So my shorthand is close contact employees. The CDC uses the phrase people you come in close contact with, so we're going to adopt it. This rule is the same. Whoosh. Okay, so remember, it's these 3 numbers, 6, 15, 48. So if I tell you I have a diagnosis of COVID-19, you're going to ask me which employees I came in contact with in the last 48 hours for 15 minutes or more, and we were within 6 feet of each other. That's the folks who kind of fall into that bubble of definition of close contact. And it's 48 hours of me first showing symptoms, so that can be a little bit tricky, right? I have the fever and trouble breathing, but I don't get my actual diagnosis till 2 or 3 days later. I've had this happen with clients. So when we're asking about the close contact employees, we've actually sent that employee home the first day they were sick. They've been out of the workplace for 3 days, but we have to go back and find out who they came in close contact with on day 1. The hyperlink for the 61548 actually will take you to an article that my firm wrote about it that I think is a little bit more easily digestible. It also has the links to where the CDC guidelines are, and that you're absolutely welcome to read them. But this is what a close contact employee is. Oh, and by the way, remember I said the close contact employees is probably who the health department might ask you about. Wouldn't be surprised.